This is, let's see if I got this correct. Yeah. We were founded in August, which is, it's been a year. We are thinking about next year. We are holding some elections for officer positions right now. We're trying to get strategic involvement. We connect with some volunteer opportunities. We we're really passionate about literacy. Digital literacy is a big deal to us. But yeah, we are trying, it was difficult when we first started this to decide what to focus on because it's such a large area and there's so much need that you can see. I mean, you want people to have access to the resources they need to have an education. You want to serve your fellow students, but we also wanted to serve our community and serve the public. Making those types of decisions was difficult. Thankfully, we have been working with people that are a great deal smarter than us and have a great deal of experience, and that has been extremely helpful. We're trying to get people access to the resources they need to be successful, not just in school, but in life itself. So that's pretty much it. If there's any questions. Yeah.
So what would you consider the highlights so far in your brief tenure?
Sure. Well, we have two main projects that we spent a lot of time on, and we're pretty proud of the way that what we've been able to accomplish. We've engaged a great deal of people. We are part of the student governing body of UMKC. We engaged the whole student government body in two separate what we're going to call projects. We refer to them as investigations. That may be too of a strong word to use, but research sounded a little bit weak. The first thing we were looking at was the application process for students when they were applying to universities, public institutions of higher education, or IHEs. 90% of students or people that are applying to these universities apply online. That's how it's done nowadays. And when you're applying online, it's very important that you're using software that it treats everybody equally. And what we found was that the use of Oracle's PeopleSoft had some, there was a little bit of like, I'm not sure what to call it, it was like a confusing bit that we had found, and thankfully it was fixed. We are passionate about providing educational opportunities for people that are applying. You don't want to teach students before they come into the degree. You have to teach them how to apply sometimes. And the idea of an educational community is something that we really found and are really passionate about. People that, members of the UMKC community, we call them, who would engage community members in this community of education, which we found growing and growing and becoming almost like a social movement. So those two things we found a lot about. We went into Oracle. we basically found out everything there is to know about Oracle's PeopleSoft, which is the de facto public institution of higher education software. So that was the big deal. The second one was investigation to referendums, which is polls basically. Just the way that's done, which is done via email. We were kind of creatively trying to find maybe there's an easier way to engage students and get their opinions. Maybe there's a way to have these students be voting on issues that are important to them, because we believe that students don't feel like their voices are heard and they're not going to speak. But we've also found that students have a huge amount of creativity. That creativity is just the driving point that really transcends everything else, and that's so important. And finding a way to facilitate that is something we've been really happy to be able to help with. So those are our two deals.
Hey, Jackson. So this is going on your first year. Totally awesome concept, especially from a university perspective. Where do you see yourself, or where do you see the office in the next couple of years?
Well, things, I don't want to, I founded the student organization, and what I've seen, is that sometimes student organizations or organizations in general, you can become kind of a block if you're trying to run things. So I've actually, currently we're holding elections for the president position. I've just kind of stepped down and acting as managing director. I want to allow things to develop organically. So I feel like that's the best way to allow that creative force that students have to be realized.
Can I assume that your students would be interested in volunteering for working with organizations that do nonprofit or that do after school summer work?
Absolutely, yes. We have just started. Things go slowly. We don't have a lot of time. We're trying to do homework. But we started working with Connected for Good, which is our first kind of like foray into the volunteer area of things. I know we talked to Rachel Merlo of Google Fiber about trying to get our students engaged with what you guys are doing. And students like doing this type of stuff. Students think that digital inclusion is boring, but we found it's not true because we have people like Sam here. Sam's a good friend of ours and a very active ODI, who's using music as a way to engage students, and specifically electronic music requires digital inclusion because you have to have internet, and you have to have software, and you have to have resources, and you have to have a studio. But what if there was another way to do this? You know? So we're creatively finding a way. Anyone else?
Just a statement. As a member of Connecting for Good, we're thrilled with you guys and who you are and what you're doing, but also as a member of the steering council of the KC Coalition for Digital Inclusion, I urge you to stay for our working session today, because we're committed to 4 themes that you're going to be hearing about, which seem to me to be pretty much in alignment with the kinds of things that you guys are doing: raising awareness, broadening participation, getting greater collaboration among groups and getting people involved and engaged. So I just want to say I think it's so exciting for us to hear about what you're doing. And of course there's going to be this giant sucking sound of people saying, "Can you help? Can you help? Can we get volunteers?" And students are great because you can get great experience for them, but you can also provide great assistance to a lot of us. So,
Yeah.
so.
Well, we're excited and we hope to do as much as we can.
Super.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Noah. And not only is he going to be staying for our working session, but Noah is going to be a part of the coalition, so he'll be coming to meetings regularly as long as homework and classes. And hopefully you'll bring more students with you because, and I didn't say this to the entire group, but if there is somebody that you think should be coming to these coalition meetings and they're not, or they don't know about them, or you think that they would benefit from coming, please invite them. This group and these meetings are open to everyone, so please tell anyone who should be coming. Okay, moving on to our next presentation. If you've been following the news at all, then you probably know that Google Fiber has been in the news lately with a lot of different stories and possibly rumors about what's happening. And so Rachel Merlo is here just to talk about what's going on with Google Fiber and give us an update for what's happening now and potentially what's happening in the future. Rachel.
Well, I'm not really here with the Google Fiber update. This is more of a community update. If you want to talk rumors, I guess we should have a beer later. I'm still here. We plan to stay here, and that's that. But what I really wanted to talk about today was our 2016 Community Impact Report, which was just released a few weeks ago. If you're on social media, it may have made it into some of your feeds. But if not, I wanted to highlight some of the successes because we have a lot to be proud of. And it's not we, Google Fiber, it's we, Kansas City. We represented very strongly in this report. This report took a look at our Google Fiber markets, which would include Salt Lake, Kansas City, of course, Raleigh-Durham, Charlotte, Atlanta, Boston, Nashville, and Provo, which is part of Salt Lake City. We contacted the partners that we work with directly or that we funded to do digital inclusion and STEM work in these cities to come up with a total of how much have we given back in the community as the community. So here's what we looked at nationally, that there were 115,000 hours of digital literacy training provided across these 8 cities. We saw 206,000 plus children and families served through our STEM programming. In Kansas City, this includes our Create Your World experience. It's a field trip we host at the Fiber Space. This includes Made with Code, another kind of a coding program we host with school groups. This includes the app camps we run with UMKC every summer, which the applications are open now if you know any high schoolers who might be interested in that. And our partner programs, so things that we support but that other people run with us, like Coder Dojo, which happens monthly in the space. Over 1 million people were reached through the work of our Digital Inclusion Fellows in 2016 across these 8 cities. Over 1,900 families living in public housing now have access to free gigabit internet in their homes through our Connect Home for Gigabit Communities program. In Kansas City, that is 1,051 public housing units across KCK and KCMO that now have access to free internet. Nashville received 380 units last year, Austin 337, Salt Lake 147. Nationally, we had 310 nonprofit partners that we worked with or supported to do this work in our cities. Specifically in Kansas City, one of the big numbers that was eye-opening was 36,000 hours of digital literacy training provided across our community. That's partly work that COCO does a lot of that, getting out into libraries, into community spaces, into the computer labs that we've put into public housing communities. This is the work of our Community Leaders Program, where we work with students from Lockhurst and UMKC to do trainings with nonprofit partners, which is what I talked to you about, Noah. This includes the work of our Digital Inclusion Fellows, which we have Sarah and Wendy with us here today, and the work of many of you in this room, our partners. So if you recall, I sent you a survey last year and asked you to report back to us, what have you done, what have you given, what have we empowered you to do? And cumulatively, we came up with over 36,000 members, which is quite impressive. Through our work with Surplus Exchange, over 160 devices went into homes for people that didn't previously have them, mostly. We know that in the first year of Connect Home, over 800 families were getting online, many of those for the first time. And 6 new computer labs went live in those public housing communities. I would also highlight real briefly that we now see in Kansas City 275 buildings, including community centers, libraries, other municipal buildings that are connected through our free community connections program. And the biggest one to me, we saw in 16 reported the year-over-year increase in internet adoption in this community from 2014 to 2015. There was a 6% increase in internet usage here in our community. So we have a long way to go. For whatever the digital divide looks like today, it will be something else tomorrow. But we need to take a moment and celebrate the good work that's happened in this room, that you've allowed us to partner with you with, and hopefully looking forward to getting a lot more done. So cheers to you. I will email this report and with the A-list here so you guys can put your hands on it if you want to look a little bit deeper. But thank you again for all that you've done with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I have a quick announcement. Apparently, there's someone who's parked in the garage with a Toyota Highlander Limited 4-wheel drive with their lights on. I don't know if that's anybody here. I just want to let you know it's Kansas plate 423FCL. If you have that car, your lights are on. Okay. Okay, so moving on. Thank you so much, Rachel. And I can speak for the library in saying that thanks to Google Fiber, we've been happy to have a Google Fellow with us for almost a year now. Wendy Pearson, who's funded by Google Fiber and is dedicated specifically to working on digital inclusion initiatives both at the library and in the community. And the other Google Fellow is Sarah Bell, and she's been with Literacy Kansas City for almost a year now. And they're getting ready to wrap up their service here fairly soon, but before they do, there's a couple of projects that we've asked them to work on. And so some of that involves our meeting for next month. which you'll see on the agenda that we're going to move the meeting for next month to the second Friday to coincide with the National Digital Inclusion Week, and seeing ways that we can all partner together and do something really fun and spectacular. But the great part about that is that it's going to be facilitated by our two Google fellows. So I'm going to introduce them and have them explain some of what's happening. So Wendy, Pearson, and Sarah Bell.
So we're here to announce Digital Inclusion Week. It's coming up May 8th through the 13th. What is it exactly? It's a way for us in Kansas City to work in solidarity with other efforts, other organizations across the country, and raise awareness about the issue first and foremost, and why it's important to our target populations. We can raise awareness with our community leaders, our stakeholders, funders. It's just a really good opportunity to make people aware of the issue, what it means, and why it's important. Digital Inclusion Week is also an opportunity to highlight the work that we're doing and showcase it within our communities, and then even on a national level. So I wanted to kind of show you the website and a couple of things. If you scroll down a little bit, we can look at, there's an opportunity for you to host an event. They have a really great website for this whole host an event. They have a really great website that gives you some ideas. For example, you can have an outreach campaign where you're canvassing a neighborhood and actually trying to connect directly with the people that we're trying to serve. We could do maybe a one-day workshop, so host a class or an interactive session that really engages people and informs them about the services available to them by your organization. Maybe have an open house, invite people in to kind of show the community what you're doing. It can include our target populations that we're trying to serve, some stakeholders, even potential funders. Invite them in your doors, have a little party, and show everybody what's actually happening at your organization. A volunteer event, so host a special event to recruit volunteers. Something that I will be doing is having a volunteer appreciation gathering to celebrate the volunteers that we already have serving with us. So if we look at the themes tab, you can see that they have broken it down to kind of a different focus for each day of the week, just to give you an idea of things that you can do at your organization. And then once you come up with your wonderful idea, you can register your event. It's a really simple Google form to fill out. If you register, that means you're going to be featured on this website, along with all the other organizations who've registered across the country. And then in the Amplify the Message tab, you'll see, I don't think it's up, it wasn't up this morning when I checked, but there will be a press kit coming out to guide you through promotions and helping get the word out. Of course, the hashtag is one that a lot of us already use anyway, hashtag digital inclusion, but that'll be kind of the official, Twitter hashtag throughout the week. Now, as the coalition, we will be hosting an event. Sarah's actually going to talk about it here in a few minutes. However, I invite you all to think about a special project at your organization. Something special to bring attention to the work that you are doing and the people that you serve and all of your stakeholders. So I'm going to let Sarah take over and talk about what we have in mind for next month's coalition meeting and our Digital Inclusion Week event.
Great, thank you, Wendy. So you can see this is all sort of ramping up to this final event on Friday, which is this virtual panel discussion with some of the national leaders doing digital inclusion work across the country. You can see their names down there, confirmed panelists. And so this will be broadcast at noon our time. And so what we would like to do is have our coalition meeting from 10:30 to 11:30, actually have a local panel here to discuss some of these issues of digital inclusion within Kansas City first. And after the local panel, Google Fiber has graciously sponsored lunch so that we can stick around and then all of us watch and tune into the net to watch the national panel and possibly even have a brief just Q&A at the end to just go over and kind of think about how this is all connecting and bringing it home here to Kansas City. And so we are still confirming panelists for our local panel here, but we'll be keeping you in touch via email, Facebook, different things as we get those panels confirmed. And we'll also have make sure to RSVP to see who's going to be showing up for lunch. But we hope there's a good big turnout. As Kansas City definitely is. Well, we pride ourselves in doing a lot of good work here, so really taking part in this discussion and showing that we are also really actively participating. Any questions about any of this?
So, I just want to say, it's a great lead-in to the fact that the very next week is the NDIA conference called Net Inclusion, and it's in St. Paul, Minnesota, on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 17th and 18th. The other reason I said that is because if you have any notion of going and want help with transportation, I am organizing a minivan or larger if need be. Just let me know. But I'm going to confirm that reservation for the transportation within the next week. So before next Friday, if you have any notion of going and want to ride, let me know. This set of awareness building activities for this week is going to be a great launch pad for what's going to come out of the Net Inclusion Summit the following week.
But you can see there's also a tab on this website for more information about that conference, as this is part of the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, which is also hosting both the Digital Inclusion Week and the conference.
And I wanted to mention too, to follow up on the city's recent community awareness days as part of the equity plan that they've submitted. We're going to be working together to host a community awareness event. I just want to make everyone aware of that. We will announce details. It's really in the kind of conceptual development stage right now. But if anybody has any ideas of how we can have a dialogue with the target population, communities, and areas, just let Carrie know or me, and we'll try to get something, work with the city, McLean and Tom to put something together so we can make this happen sooner than later. But look for details. Just stay tuned, I guess. Thank you very much.
Carrie asked me to come up here for a minute because we've got she's got another meeting to run out to. And I've got one sort of last minute addition to the agenda, so apologies. This is something that came up yesterday. How many people have heard of the Kansas City Connector project that Kaufman is doing? I assume some of you in here. Dave's going to put this up. You got it up. Okay. So I met with the woman who's running this yesterday, and they asked for help. And also gave some background that I did not really know about this study. I thought was pretty interesting and will be relevant to this group. So if you don't know what this is, there's this woman, Karen Stevenson, who does research, and the idea behind this is to sort of identify the unsung heroes in communities, or people who are motivating change and doing work on sort of a grassroots level. And ultimately, when they've done this in other cities, and there's been 3 or 4 of them, Philadelphia, Louisville, I don't remember the other 2, they come up with a list of what they call super connectors. So these kind of people who you all know who are intersect with a lot of different groups within the community, and maybe don't have sort of formal roles or positions of power or authority within the city, but are the people who actually get things done. So this should sound very familiar to the people who are in this room, because you all could be on this list. But it's a little bit goofy, and I don't know that anyone from the conference here. There's a little, like, when I first got this, and you go through, and it's like maybe an 8 or 9 question survey, and it asks things like, who are the most innovative people that you know, and who are the have the biggest ideas, and who really gets things done. And it's kind of like, give us your Rolodex, And it feels a little bit like, you know, your Kaufman Foundation. You already know all these people. Why are you asking people to do this with your time? And then what are you going to do with the information? Because Kaufman's not always the best about sort of sharing their research. Sometimes they do, but I don't know. I mean, it seemed a little bit weird to me. So I gave them a bunch of names and I filled it out, and I'm glad they're doing it. But what I learned yesterday, talking to Edith Brummer, who is the Kaufman rep, who is kind of shepherding this, and Karen Stevenson, who is the researcher on this, is that it's really intended to be a community-owned asset when it's done. So Kaufman doesn't actually retain the data. There's going to be a sort of community-based steering committee. And there's a lot of like kind of management stuff that they really haven't worked through, and they probably should have before they launched this project. And there's a whole lot of other just sort of, you know, backstory that was like, okay, I kind of get why this happened and why this rolled out the way that it did. But their ask was to help get broader participation. And I thought the idea that this is really a community-owned list is really valuable. And so I'm kind of working now to figure out what that actually means and how that will be done. But I guess it's sort of baked into Karen's contract, and she's, you know, wanting to make sure that it doesn't get sort of like buttonholed someplace within Kaufman and sort of lost the work that gets done. And also, so the way that this project originated here was really thinking about the education ecosystem and people who are helping kids to learn. And I think that actually fits with the work that we do here. So I think even though some of the people in sort of digital inclusion space may not fit into education, you should think of yourself that way for the purposes of this. Because it's Kaufman, they sort of like piggyback on entrepreneurship, which is a completely different ecosystem, even though there's some overlap. It was also part of what is confusing about this. And in another city where they've done this, it's been much broader. It's just been sort of civic change agents, you know, regardless of what field they work in. All of which is to say, I think, I am more convinced after my conversation with him yesterday that there is merit in getting this list populated as widely as we can. So I would encourage you to go through, go to this page and take the survey. It's a pretty quick survey. And one specific request they had, again, not overly surprising, but they feel like they've really not done a good job of getting this out into underserved and underprivileged communities. They don't feel like they've got much penetration east of Truce. They don't feel like, I mean, they feel like there are communities in the Hispanic community also. You know, what the idea is, and again, sort of abstracting this from Kaufman Foundation and sort of how, you know, what the dynamics of this community are sometimes. The idea of identifying people who are sort of movers and shakers in their own neighborhoods and in their communities who people don't know about is a really valuable thing, I think, for the city. And I think that that's a fairly non-controversial statement. Now, how you use that information, what you do with it, there could be more controversy there. But the idea of coming up with that kind of list and being able to identify those people who we might, you know, not have on the radar, I think is worthwhile. And I was convinced in the people who are actually running the study as individuals that there's a real commitment to make sure that we figure out how to use that information in the right way. So, people in this room, I would encourage you to take a survey. Please share with your networks. I'm going to try to work on you know, how we think through sharing this message broadly, because I think there are a lot of questions about what this project is. But I want to take advantage of this audience here. Bill?
Aaron, when I first got the notification, I was got the same sort of feelings you had. And a couple of things that I want to share. I have not added any names, okay? And I get a message 3 times a week on this. Please add names. And I think this is definitely an example of the cart before the horse. When you go look at the 4 cities where Ms. Stevenson has done this social networking exercise, she has some software I don't doubt that she will come up with something that is useful, but as far as I can tell, in those 4 cities, it has about a 2-year half-life, or a 2-year lifespan, not a half-life. It's very hard to find ongoing benefit in those communities as a result of the initial push, but you can go find a website that hasn't been updated since 2012. And so we're far enough down the road, I believe, in this city to say, great idea, not enough design thinking on the front end, let's hit the pause button, okay? And make sure that as we go forward, for example, how many people know about KC Nova? Okay, KC Nova is using social networking. We have people here at UMKC who are experts in using this software in a very intentional way. And I would really like to see us draw upon their experience, even though it's in the public safety domain, to think about what they have learned as a way of how can we use that, say, within the Digital Inclusion Coalition or within some other domains where we know we have communities of practice that could benefit from having better connectivity. But this idea of throwing a gill net out and asking everybody who's working, many of whom are working on the down low, frankly, for very practical reasons, to jump up and put their name on a list, I think that strikes a lot of people as worrisome, particularly in this day and age, particularly if you're working with the undocumented, for example. So I hope that we can have further conversation of the type you had yesterday. I am really glad to hear that happened, but at the same time, we need to be thinking twice about adopting yet another new idea when we're trying to figure out how to bring together the stuff that we're doing such that our intersectionality is more effective.
Do you know if, when this becomes a community asset, are the names of people we share, is all their contact information going to become a community asset too? No. Okay.
No. And so, there's a lot we are putting the cart before the horse in some sense. This is kind of what I told him. At the same time, the horse has left the barn to extend the analogy. So, you're right, and if somebody says, I don't want to do this because I don't, and this is sort of an add to the agenda, it would be worth longer conversation. But I want to throw this out because I do think there's value more so now in the way that I did 48 hours ago. And I thought it was a good project, but so take that for what it's worth. One last comment on this, William, and then we'll move on to the rest of the day.
I was just going to say, isn't this kind of along the lines of what you were doing with your KC Digital Drive? Trying to make the resources available.
So it's consistent with what we do in terms of thinking of the ecosystem as an asset and how do you manage that and use that in a strategic way. We didn't have this sort of snowball name collection methodology that she used. Again, to your point, is it some revolutionary methodology? No, I don't. It doesn't strike me as. I won't go into some other thoughts on that. But do I think that having ultimately so Karen's going to put out a list of 100 super connectors at some point, whether we like it or not. That's going to happen. And so the question is, what do we want to do about that? Do we want to make it a better list? Do we want to just hold it back and try to do it again in a year or two? All that's on the table. We're not. I don't know that we'll solve that now. But the fact that I didn't even know that this was supposed to be sort of shared publicly. It wasn't even clear to me before yesterday if the methodology was let's blast this out and get as many people signed up as possible, or if it was, well, we're going to really do this organically, and it's you've got to have an invitation to it. So that was all what their strategy was for reaching underserved neighborhoods. I had no idea. Was that a pain point? It was all sort of a black box to me. So the fact that they've made a request for sort of greater penetration, and that they're worried, and I say they meaning the sort of people running the project, not the institutional Kaufman Foundation, but they really care deeply that that they don't end up putting out a list, which they're going to have to do, that people look at and say, well, that's the wrong list, or there's all these people that aren't there, or this community is not represented, and I'm sympathetic to that desire. So,
Next topic.
yes, thank you. Is it like a really quick sentence? Okay.
Tony from UMKC. On the subject of ecosystem building, also digital equity, and also a theme called Right to the City, wedged nicely between Digital Inclusion Week and the event in St. Paul. On May 15th, UMKC and the Kaufman Foundation are co-hosting the 5th Midwest Symposium on Social Entrepreneurship. At 9 o'clock, there'll be a panel on digital equity that features Rick Usher, Tom Esselman, Crosby Kemper, Alan Howes from Kansas City, Kansas, the Chief Knowledge Officer. Carrie Keefe's going to moderate it. But there is a track of ecosystem building with a lot of focus on Kansas City. So I'll, maybe through Carrie, circulate a link to the website. It's Monday the 15th, goes into the 16th, but most of this activity is on the 15th, Monday, May 15th. So.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. And we'll let that start off our round of introductions. So if we want to go to your left, Tony, if everyone just wants to stand up and say your name and what organization you're with.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Robinson. I was invited last time as a guest of Tom Esselman. Let's see. I'm not really involved in a particular organization. I do want to say that I just founded an organization called the Kansas City Black Co-working Community that we're starting to build. And if you have questions about that, please let me know.
I'm Michael Dimitra. I'm now director of an organization called Footprints, Inc.
Michael Carmona with Hispanic Economic Development Corporation.
Catherine Golden with Launch Code.
Good morning, my name is Angela Underwood. It's my very first week on the job as new Chief Programs Officer with Connecting for Good. I'm just back in the Kansas City area after lots of stints around the country as a principal and doing some turnaround work. So I'm very excited to be immersed in this very critical initiative and excited to get to meet each of you more on a more personal basis.
And I'm Bill Mullins with Kessler Institute, and presently another activity is going on here in the near future that I want to at least alert people to is that the last weekend in April, we in Kansas City are hosting the White Privilege Conference. And you may have seen an article in the Star this past week. It's a topic that is subject to some confusion in terms of the name, but I want to point out that there are a couple of youth activities, an all-day institute for middle schoolers and one for high schoolers, and then a 3-day effort for high schoolers. This is an opportunity, I think, for young people who are particularly sensitive to the way that the demographics of America are trending, to have some very hands-on, useful conversation with some of the most thoughtful people in America that have been working on this for a long time. This is the 18th version of this conference, and we're fortunate to host it. We'll be at the Marriott, so if anybody would like any more information, please see me at the end of the meeting.
I'm Ron Green, Executive Director at Digistory at KC. We do digital media training for kids in the urban core. You know, any kids that want to do a workshop, we have them every month. Send them our way.
Joe Hall, volunteer at large. One of the hats that I wear is I volunteer for Aim for Peace. They've got a card on the desk there. They're doing an outreach event this 14th April. And again, it's the mayor's anti-violence mitigation strategy. So if you know folks interested, we're doing an outreach event on the 14th of April. The park is Chelsea Park. Did I get that right out?
I'm Susan Norris from EcoSelect. We do IT consulting and business consulting work in various areas, among them in the municipal area.
I am Justin Horton from Cornerstones of Care. I'm our Health Information Technology Director. Cornerstones is one of the largest behavioral health care providers in the region and the largest outpatient behavioral health provider in the region. So my attendance has waned. I was here way back when we first started, but we're here because we think digital inclusion and bridging the gap to be ultimately successful, we have to help treat the whole person, including their behavioral health needs. So we're here to represent that angle.
Greg Housel with the Alliance for Economic Inclusion and Money Smart KC.
Megan Chizik with also with Cornerstones of Care. I oversee business development and strategy.
William Wells with Esteem Village.
Hey, William, tell us about NSBE last week, man. It was huge.
Yes, we had 10,785 attendees. I think we gave away about 1,000 scholarships, about $1.7 million in scholarships, and we gave about 750 jobs for Fortune 100 companies.
Gillian Helm with Literacy KC.
Jackie Gill with Metropolitan Community College.
I'm Tom Sullivan. I'm with Kansas City Public Schools.
Dr. Bruce Cologne with Kansas City Community College.
Catherine Hamburg with Kansas City Digital Drive.
Julie Heidel with Restart.
I'm Neil Gilmore with Charter Communications, branding our products in the KC market as Spectrum. I would like to put in a little plug here real quick. We've got a new product called Spectrum Internet Assist. It's a low-cost, high-speed broadband project that is 30 meg, and it is $14.99. It is our target audience is for families with children on free and reduced lunch, and seniors 65 and older on supplemental security income. So if you're interested, please let me know. I'll get a flyer here. They can call the number on the back, and they can get information on the product. I would dare say that we probably cover 99% of the Kansas City footprint with our cable product, which we're providing internet to the home. So I think we will be pretty much in line with what you all are doing, and we certainly want to be part of the conversation. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. David Jackson. I'm with Lixo Sanitation, Ware Valley Trash and Recycling Doorstep Collection Service. But more importantly, I'm a product of the Urban Core. With my degrees in IT, I was invited by Tom Esselman here for Connected for Good, which I am now a new volunteer, more on the, I think it was the mentoring aspect at the third street location.
I'm Marcy Boat. I'm with Connected for Good as their AmeriCorps Visited Volunteer Coordinator.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Darahanian. I am with Connecting for Good as the AmeriCorps Visited Development Coordinator.
I'm Graham Vineyard Neighborhood Association.
Jessica Williams, Vineyard Neighborhood Association.
Sarah Bell, Digital Inclusion Fellow, Literacy KC. Wendy Pearson, the Digital Inclusion Fellow at the Kansas City Public Library, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity to tell you that we're building a kind of a team of tech coaches, volunteers, who are offering one-on-one kind of consultation sessions for library patrons. We have the services at several locations. And we're also ready to take the show on the road and build some partnerships in the community. We've got volunteers ready to serve. We have a mobile computer lab. If you think your organization and the library can partner in any way, see me after or shoot me an email. Thanks.
I'm Sarah Wagner with the Kansas City Public Library.
I'm John Taylor. I'm the founder of Reach Collaborative.
Tina Kerstlick. I'm with Surplus Exchange. We do electronics recycling and furniture recycling. If you have any needs for electronics or furniture, we're down in the West Bottoms. Anybody happens to be out that way this weekend, it's going to be a big weekend down there. Good weather.
Dominga?
Dominga Levin, Metropolitan Community College.
Hi, I'm Tom Esselman, Connecting for Good.
Oh, me? Okay. Let's see, I got to figure. All right, Rick Usher, City Manager's Office, and this is Facebook Live, so all the things you're talking about, I'm listing links to those on the site, so feel free to jump in there. You might have all been harassed by me on Facebook or by email to participate. Broadening participation is going to be a fun table because we got the Twitter account going, we've got a YouTube channel for the coalition. This is Facebook Live. I'll post it on the YouTube channel later. I think we've got meetings since September posted there, as well as a lot of the stuff we've been working on at City Hall on the Digital Equity Strategic Plan, and we'll be, of course, meeting with everybody further on implementation of that plan. Thank you.
I'm Bob Akers. I'm the Enterprise Director for Basel Action Network eStewards, and I'm really getting to tell the Kansas City story all over the country right now. So you guys are doing good work. Thanks.
My name is Matt Noyanen. I'm the Director of the Leavenworth Public Library. This is my second meeting. I'm mostly here to try to bring the kind of connectivity and digital divide work that is going on here across the river to my town.
Aaron Deacon with KC Digital Drive.
Davey Crone with Kansas City Public Library.
Noah Worcester with UMKC Officer of Inclusion.
Sam Kulikov here with ODI, also representing the Left Right Initiative. We're a music-based educational service for kids, both on the Kansas City, Kansas side and Kansas City, Missouri side, focused on breaking down barriers to talking about mental health issues and self-identity for teenagers in the area, and helping them to learn through musical progression and learning their artistic identity.
Have we missed anybody?
Alan House of the Unified Government of Wyandotte in Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay. Big shout out to those of you who are here for the first time, or in the case of a couple of you who maybe used to be here and then took a little break and now are back. We're constantly growing and broadening our participation, and I hope you feel as I do. There is a growing sense of energy and vitality about this group, and more importantly, the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. What I'm going to do right now is lead the last bit of our scheduled session, which is a work session, and I want to make sure you understand the context for it. When this effort originally kicked off, going back, Bill, about 2.5 years ago now, we had a community-wide summit. And the input we got from the broader community, when narrowed down, focused on 4 main themes that we've adopted as a coalition. And the steering council of this coalition has put forth these 4 themes as our key objectives, at least for 2017. And I just want to remind you all of what those 4 key themes are. The first one is overcoming barriers to digital access and skills adoption. The second is raising awareness of digital inclusion as an area of philanthropic and civic need. The third is broadening participation in your or our programs. And the fourth is connecting people to the right programs and services to take advantage of new digital access and skills. And so what we've done as a steering council is 2 things. We've committed ourselves, first and foremost, to making sure that these themes reflect the output that comes out of the work we do as a coalition. And so a number of us as steering council members have become champions of each of these themes. And those champions are going to split up into 4 groups that represent each of these 4 themes. And the second thing we've done is we've adopted, for the sake of the process of managing the coalition, a schedule so that every month we have a meeting. Every other month we're going to do basically what we've done today. Have a few short presentations, then devote about 30 minutes to a working session. And then in the off month, we're going to have basically one main kind of keynote speaker, and we're going to focus those months on the networking and information sharing that's so vital to make sure we all know what each other is doing. Does that make sense? So for today, and I said there were 2 things we've done. The other thing is we currently have 7 working members of the steering council. And we have committed to growing that number by the end of the year to 12 members of the steering council. And by the time we're done, each steering council member will be assigned as a co-champion of one of these 4 themes. All right, so we're all committed to being not only ambassadors for Kansas City and the work we're doing in digital inclusion, but as co-champions of any one of these 4 themes, really working with each of you all to identify what you're doing under the banner of each of these themes, and maybe 1 or 2 things that can come out of each one as a project that we can adopt as a coalition. And when I say project, just meaning that the collective force of us all meeting each month will make the outcome greater than what any of our organizations could do on our own. Okay, so with that in mind, let me go back to what's going to happen today. And what you as attendees and as members of the coalition, what we're asking you to do today is think about these 4 themes. Think about which one you feel like you'd be most interested in being part of and sharing information to the extent that you and your organization are contributing toward that goal. And then what we want you to do is pick that team and stick with that team. So every other month you'll in the working session stay with that team and advance the projects that you identify. All right, so the first team, and I don't know if I have them in the order, you right there, is overcoming barriers to digital access and skills adoption. Gillian Helm from Literacy KC is the champion of that group. Gillian, wherever she goes, anybody that wants to be in that team, go join her. The second priority is raising awareness of digital inclusion as an area of philanthropic and civic need. Aaron and I are going to be co-leading that, and I will probably grab this table right there, because that's just where my stuff is. Either that or Aaron will wrestle me, and we'll...
It's my table.
Oh, sorry, that's right. So we'll go over here. So we'll go over here or somewhere. Just look for Aaron and me if you want to be part of raising awareness. The third one is broadening participation in programs. Rick is championing that. He'll be right up here in front. And the fourth one, connecting people. And Dominga Levin, MCC, is going to be championing that initiative. So unless there are any questions or comments, what I want us to do is take this time to break up, select the topic and the champion that you most want to align yourself with, and then let's be really clear. Here's what we're hoping to get out of this, is within your group and with your champion, share ideas that you and or your organization are doing that contribute toward that goal, but as you share, look to identify 1 or 2, we're calling them projects, that you might want to coalesce your energy around. So that we as a coalition can say, by working together, we are able to do these 1 or 2 key things under each of these 4 themes. Keep in mind, at that NDIA event, which is coming up in just about 6 weeks, we will have just had our next meeting the week before that. There might be an opportunity for any of you who participate in today's session to share out some things that maybe you identified as your projects. That'll give us fuel for sharing that with the national group in St. Paul the following week. And I cannot underscore or reinforce enough the extent to which the rest of the country looks at Kansas City and what we do and how we work as a coalition as a real leader in terms of collaboration among local groups. And so to the extent that we all kind of wish we could do more and get more productivity out of these sessions, just know that the progress is happening, the momentum is real. Hopefully this kind of a working session will allow us to get more concreteness to this traction that we're on right now. Okay, so without, yes, Bill, comment.
Tom, my friend Greg here is going to appreciate this comment because I've made it to him on many occasions. What's our provision for measuring effectiveness systematically? I think, again, those of us who've been to a bunch of these kinds of efforts where we're trying to connect volunteer efforts and bring different funded activities into close proximity, tend to get frustrated after a while if we launch actions, but we haven't figured out how we're going to roll up the accomplishment. So I just want to say, once again, I think, sorry to bring this late to the table, but having a group whose focus is on how do we measure impact could be very helpful to these other groups so they can focus on the specific impacts.
So just real quick, I want to make sure you all know that I actually view Bill's comment not in any way as a negative, but as a perfect table setter, because each of these 4 themes that we just talked about and the working groups that we're going to be in, we didn't make them up. Those were generated by community input. Okay, so the people who said, why do we want a coalition, said we want these 4 things to happen. So just the very fact that we're doing this work is one way of measuring success, is that we're taking the input of the community and saying, these are the things we want to work on.
Well, yeah. So let's make that measuring outcomes part of this conversation. Yeah. If you pick a project, then how are you going to measure those outcomes?
Did everybody hear that? Let's try to come up with some projects where we can have some measurable outcomes. Anyway, I'm talking too much. I want you guys to break up, get into your sessions. And thank you so much for your participation and any input and feedback we can get.
Do you mind if I sit here next to you?
Yeah.
Hi there.
Hey, how are you?
Cool.
We can pass the camera around. I'll just put it on Bob.
Put it on my head.
He's our TV star here. We don't get a lot of viewers while it's live, but then when we upload it to YouTube, we can go back and share it in a bunch of ways. So, nice to meet you, though.
I'm Angela again. What's your name?
Rick Usher.
Rick Usher.
City Manager's office.
Very nice to meet you. I'm terrible with names, but I
Hello, how are
remember
you?
things.
I think, though, what I'll do is turn this off. And so thanks for viewing this, and we'll come back with report outs if something comes up that way.